Hey everybody, Jim here with another video for you. This is Shocktober Volume 9, WTF movies. But before we begin, at the end of this video, if you like what you see, please consider giving me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe. Most importantly, leave comments below. Let me know what some of the movies that you would consider what the you-know-what. Now, these are just horror movies. They don't really have anything in common other than the fact that when I saw them for the first time, there was at least one moment, if not the entire movie, where I was going, what the F am I watching? Truly, truly bizarre stuff, or choices made that I just didn't see coming. And we're going to do a couple more of these videos, or a couple more examples of this type of thing in a future video, but this is the first part of those. So we're going to start off with a prime example of what I'm talking about, and it was one of the first movies of this type that I saw theatrically, and we're talking about 1979 Don Coscarelli's classic, Phantasm, starring Reggie Bannister, Michael Baldwin, and the incredible Angus Scrimm as the Tall Man. Anybody who's ever seen Phantasm knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say WTF, because this movie is beyond bizarre. It's a fever dream, basically. And I love it. It inspired an entire franchise. I know a lot of people do not like those films, and it's understandable. They are definitely not for everyone. But Phantasm, like I said, the tall man, the ball with the spikes, the silver sphere, I should say, they've become iconic. And yeah, the original Phantasm definitely left a huge mark on me as a child when I saw it. Here's a pretty obscure one for you, but it's great. Brain Dead, starring Bill Pullman, Bill Paxton, Bud Cort, Nicholas Pryor, who just passed away a couple of days ago, and George Kennedy, among others. This one's directed by Adam Simon, and this is from the Corman Factory. This one definitely fits in the bill of WTF because this movie's plot is like a labyrinth. It just constantly changes directions, goes in different directions. Sometimes you think it's a dead end, sometimes it's not. I love this film, but it's one of those movies you really got to pay attention and have patience with. It is great. This one's not so much WTF as just batshit crazy. And we're talking about The Island, starring Michael Caine and the late, great David Warner, and one of my favorite performances from him. He's just so over the top. This is based on a Peter Benchley novel and is directed by Michael Ritchie, who also directed The Bad News Bears, of all things. This is a crazy pirate movie. It's not very good, but my God, is it entertaining. And there are more than one moments in this movie where you will be saying, WTF. It's a lot of fun. This one, when it came out, inspired a lot of WTF, but not in a positive way. And that's Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I remember the backlash of this movie when it came out. It's become kind of a cult classic since. Starring the wonderful, wonderful Tom Atkins and Dan O'Hurley. And this one is directed by, Tommy Lee Wallace. I'm sorry. I remember the backlash when this movie came out. People were expecting a Michael Myers movie, and this is definitely not that. And this movie is filled with moments, including the entire plot of WTF. I love this goofy little cheesy movie. It's great. If you didn't have Halloween 3 in the title and it just said Season of the Witch, I have a feeling this movie would have been a little hit at the time. It wouldn't have been a huge flop. This one is just on a different level as far as WTF. The Incredible Melting Man. This came out in the 70s, and it's a really bad movie. I mean, really bad movie. But the effects from Rick Baker, yeah, it's Rick Baker again, are still incredible. Look at that. This came out in 1977. And again, very uneven movie, really bad movie, actually, if I'm being honest. But the effects are great. But there are moments in this movie where you're like, again, WTF. The next two movies, you got that WTF going throughout the entire runtime, starting off with Blue Monkey. This is a really bizarre movie, aka Insect is the other title for this movie. It's a Canadian horror film from William Fruit. This one stars Steve Railsback from Life Force and The Stuntman, among other things. This is a crazy throwback monster movie, like kind of from the 50s or whatever, with a giant insect creature. Bug nuts crazy. Just absolutely WTF all over it. Just like this one. Q, the Winged Serpent. Written and directed by Larry Cohen and starring Michael Moriarty in incredible performance. David Carradine, Candy Clark, Richard Roundtree, among others. This is about having a pterodactyl at the Empire State Building. Crazy. Or Chrysler Building, I should say. Crazy stop motion puppetry going in here. And this was truly guerrilla filmmaking. Larry Cohen had no permits at all and is running around the streets of New York City causing chaos. Again, WTF to the max. This movie is crazy. But it's still not as crazy as this one. The Lair of the White Worm. This is my Vestron Steelbook. There's the goofy little creature at the bottom of the well. This is actually based on a Bram Stoker novel that I never read. This one's directed by Ken Russell. It stars Amanda Donohoe and a very young Hugh Grant. This movie's insane. I mean, it is literally insane. From looking at this, you would think it's a vampire movie, but it's really not. It's more like a snake cult. Really weird movie. But this one might be the most bizarre out of all of them. And we're talking about Versus. Directed by my good friend Rui Karamara, who also directed The Midnight Meat Train and No One Lives, which are two other movies that would actually fit this category as WTF. But this one, oh my God. Versus is like a ninja, kung fu, zombie, gangster, romance, time travel, comedy. I don't even know how to describe this movie. It is so crazy. The only way to describe this movie is WTF, because this is truly a bizarre movie, but my God, is it fun. This one's bizarre, but it's not so much fun, but man. David Cronenberg's The Brood. This is from 1979, and it stars the wonderful Oliver Reed and Samantha Edgar, among others. Art Hindle is actually the lead. This is probably Cronenberg's darkest movie. I still think it's his darkest movie, and it's basically about divorce. But there are a couple of moments in this movie that are definitely WTF, especially the climax. I love The Brood. I think it's one of Cronenberg's most underrated films, but it is definitely not for everyone. And then we've got some body horror for you. How about Reanimator? Directed by Stuart Gordon and starring the wonderful Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton. I absolutely love this movie. It is so great. This came out in 1985. It was rated not NC-17. It was actually unrated. You had to be 18 to get in, and I turned 18 right before this movie came out and was lucky enough to see it theatrically. It has since become a huge cult classic. I love Reanimator. It is just one of those WTF movies that never gets old. And how about Stuart Gordon's follow-up to Reanimator, From Beyond? I'm going to break out the original one sheet because I love that one sheet. And again, WTF all over this bad boy because this is truly a bizarre movie. Again, starring Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton. And in this one, co-starring Ken Faree of Dawn of the Dead fame. This one is 180 degrees different than Reanimator. Reanimator is basically a comedy. This is not, although there is some dark humor throughout. From Beyond, excellent film. If you've never checked it out, please do so. It's a lot of fun. And then we've got Society, directed by Brian Yuzna. This one is beyond bizarre, starring Billy Warlock, among others. This is one of the weirdest, craziest movies I have ever seen, especially the climax. And again, like so many of these other movies, this is definitely not for everyone. But my God, the practical effects in this are amazing. And yeah, this movie is really, really wild. It's definitely one of those movies you'll never forget. And again, WTF. And then we've got probably the most bizarre movie out of all of them, Tusk. Written and directed by Kevin Smith, of all people. And starring Justin Long, Haley Joel Osment, and the late, great Michael Parks. This is the movie where a guy turns another guy into a walrus. And if that doesn't make you say, what the F, I don't know what will. This movie, again, not for everyone, not for the weak of stomach, because it's pretty gnarly. And it's also kind of funny as well, but really, really bizarre movie. Again, WTF. We're going to finish it on this one. The Cell, starring Jennifer Lopez, Vince Vaughn, and Vincent D'Onofrio, among others, and directed by Tarsum Singh. This, when I say WTF, I'm talking more or less about the visuals in this movie, because there are some sequences in this movie that literally made me say, what the F, in the movie theater, in the actual theater when I saw this theatrically. I'm not a huge Jennifer Lopez fan. I'm not a hater, but I'm not a huge Jennifer Lopez fan. She's fantastic in this movie, and this movie is awesome. It is so good. It's literally getting in the mind of a serial killer and seeing the images that would be inside this guy's brain. And my God, some of the imagery in this movie is incredible. This movie's all about style, okay? I mean, it's got a good story, it's got a good acting, but it's literally all about the artistic choices that go on in this movie. And it's incredible. I love, love, love this movie. But again, it is definitely what the F, because some of the stuff and some of the imagery in this movie is absolutely insane. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe. Most importantly, please leave comments below. I am going to do a follow-up to this video because I've got about 10 other titles that I'm thinking of that would definitely fit in this description, but I just didn't want to make this video too long. But that one's going to be a little bit further down in the month. I'm not going to do that one right away. But until the next time, I hope everyone is having a great day, and we'll see you then.